And the greeting is truly a greeting of great respect. Unless we have respect for what belongs to us, we can never retain it again. But we have to know what belongs to us by taking the opportunity of studying the past that has been so long forgotten out of our memory. It is a very tedious but trying thing, because it's not hard, but it's definitely something that engage us, and it makes it to where we have to make sure that we are definitely on point. Yahweh God has said many things to us, and the many things that he has said to us, we try to make sense by reading a book, and hopefully that the things that he has said to us will begin to make sense, and it does in time. Yahweh has asked us in Jeremiah 6, Jeremiah 6, chapter 6, Yahweh God begins to explain to us. He says, "Thus say Yahweh, stand ye in the way." And he says, stand ye in the way, and see, and ask for the old path, wherein is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your soul. So Yahweh said, ask for the old way. What was the old way? That's what I'm saying to you. What was the old way? What was and he's saying, ask for it. Ask to return back to the ways of your ancestors. Ask him. Petition Yahweh God for the ways that was manipulative by others to take it away from you. But for you to become conscious of it has long been the circumstances that has been pending by those teachers that came along that told us that we were Israel, to spark the circumstances that we would rise up and say we're Israel and begin our journey home. Because, as it says here in the Psalms, in the book of the Psalms, Psalm chapter 2, verse 1, it begins to explain that there was a plot and a scheme. Could you read? Why do the heathens rage?
Why do the heathens rage and the people
imagine
a vain thing?
Okay, so he said, why do the heathens rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings, with an S, of the earth set themselves, and the rulers took counsel together against Yahweh. This was a plot, and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away the cords from us. And Yahweh God has told you there was an elusive plan to disengage you and cast you away. It says, let us break their bands asunder and cast their cords from us. So he said, and he that sat in the heavens shall laugh. Yahweh shall have them in derision. So the point is that what was this plot? What was the scheme that the heathens, the kings of the earth, at a time set forward to do a mischief that has come down to us today? The thing about it is they did not know what we are learning today that will set us free. If we go to Psalms 83, Psalms 83 will begin to explain to you the scheme of a plot, a vicious plot. Could somebody read starting at verse 1 of 83?
God standeth in
83, Psalm 83?
Keep not thy silent, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be still owe Yahweh. For lo, thy enemies make a
tumult,
tumble, and they have lifted up the head. They have taken
crafty
counsel against thy people,
and consulted
against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in
remembrance. So he said to him, he said, we ask Yahweh, keep not thy silence, O Elohim, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Elohim, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, because Yahweh only had one people, and consulted against the hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, not a religion, a nation, that the name of Israel would be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederates against thee. So this was a plot. But see, they didn't know that for them to sabotage us, they didn't really understand the story. Because by them doing what they did to us, they sent the earth and the people on the earth in a downward spiral. Let me read in Genesis chapter 12. See, things were set in order, regardless of whether they knew it. When they cut our throat, they cut their own throat too. When you read Genesis chapter 12, starting at verse 1. Now Yahweh has said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So when they cut our throat, they cut their own. Because we're the blessing of the earth. We're the blessing of the earth. It even went. Not only that it was something that was given to Abram, that later name would become Abraham. It was given to Jacob that would receive the blessing, and that would be assured that he would carry that blessing in the earth. See, Yahweh God never put anything in heaven that it was inaccessible to mankind. Everything was ground level so that mankind could reap the benefits of Yahweh's blessing in the physical world. He didn't put it to where it was inaccessible. It was that you had to become conscious. Just like Israel had to become conscious of Yahweh God, so the world had to become conscious of Yahweh God and his blessing that he put upon these people. You cannot, if you look in the world and you think that those people that came from Europe into another section of the earth and claim a land that was never theirs, that has done some of the most diabolical acts against humanity, and you say this is the blessing, these are not people of blessing. These are people of the devil. There's no way. If you are a blessing, how can anybody bless you when you got atomic bombs? You going into a land that's not yours, never was yours, never was prescribed by Torah, reading that Torah in a land and asking who to bless you. Because you can't ask the living God. You doing devious and ungodly things? Come on. That doesn't make any sense. Even to the devil that you're serving, maybe you may think it's unbeknown, but all of them are not stupid. They cannot read that Torah continuously and find that they have an input to that which is not theirs. It doesn't prescribe them in no sense of the word. So when we go back into Genesis 27 and we read the blessing of Genesis 27, and we at chapter Genesis 27, and I'm going to start 27. So it says here,
And he came near,
going, and he kissed him.
and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Yahweh hath blessed. Therefore Yahweh give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee.
Yeah, so Yahweh God has set this blessing in the earth, and he set this curse in the earth through a people. He told them. I know people say, well, Jacob stole. How could Jacob stole what was ordained for him? Because Rebekah, if you read the story, when the children struggled in him, it says, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. She asked Yahweh, why is this happening? He says, and Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. He said, 2 nations are in thy womb, 2 manners of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. The moment, he didn't say that they were brothers. When he introduced them, he said they are nations and they have 2 manners of expression of a destiny in the earth that they would carry out. And he says, and when the days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. Now, if he was red and hairy, that means he wasn't black. If he was red and hairy, he was light, and the hair irritated his skin. Because you can't see redness on a dark person. So he was of a light skin, he was hairy, and he was red because of the hair. Okay? So it says, and after that came out his brother. They didn't call Esau his brother, they called Jacob his brother. He says, and after came out his brother, and his brother took hold Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when he bore them. So what a score, he was 3, that means he was 60 years old when he had the baby. So score is 20. So he was 80. So we can see when we read the story is going to tell something that is remarkable. And people say, well, he stole his birthright. He didn't steal it. It was ordained. Because when we go down to Genesis 27, verse 33, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said,
Who were he that hath taken venison and brought it me, and I have eaten all before thee? Thou camest and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed.
Yeah, so he said, he is nothing I can do. He's going to be blessed. He put a stamp on it. He said, and yea, and then he goes down to say to him, go to 37. And what he said?
He said, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son?
So he was, see, Esau, one of the things you have to give Esau credit. He understood the blessing that he had. Because he goes on, he said, and Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. He understood the value. Even though his brother had come by design of Yahweh and Yahweh blessed him, he said, I ain't leaving till you give me a blessing. He understood the value of the blessing that his parent could bestow upon him. But his father said, your brother, he has come with subtlety, and he got your blessing, and yea, he shall be blessed. Esau said, okay, he had that, but I want you to bless me. He said, I don't care, I'm not leaving here until I get a blessing. And that's admirable. He respected the words that came out of his father's mouth. And he wept, but he said, I'm not leaving here. You're going to bless me. You're going to say something, find it. And Isaac looked and he says, and Esau, he says, oh my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And go to 39.
And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother.
What he said, no matter what you do, Esau, he said, I'm going to give you the dew of heaven. But the only way you're going to get this is by violence. You're going to have to take it from people. You're going to have to be a mischief to people. That's what he's saying.
But he also said he had to serve his brother after
Well,
him.
that's right. He said, out of all of this, you're going to serve your brother. You ain't got, I'm going to make a contract with you, but I got to put your brother in it. Because your brother is your what? Your Lord. Didn't he say that? He said, I've made him what? Your Lord. He said, you can't get out of this. And he says, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So we can see these things materializing and understand that the world, because of them not understanding how Yahweh has structured it, they have made a total mockery of their own rulership by not understanding what is in place to incur blessings that can only occur one way. You have to bless these people. This is no way. They cannot, they can do anything. You can go to every university. You can have all your philosophers. It's already been set. It's already been set. You can't change it. It's already been set. And because it's been set and you're trying to make a change, that's why everything in your life is in turmoil, because you failed to do what Yahweh God has prescribed for you to do. No matter what Israel had done. And I know people say they did this and we did do it. But let's read and understand the spiritual legal document that is in the earth that Yahweh has prescribed. And he has prescribed this, not me, but him. Yahweh God has said in Psalm 89, and I want you to read this because Yahweh God has made this. He says, let's start at Psalm 89 verse 34. It says what? My covenant
will not be break, nor alter.
My covenant will I not break, nor alter the things that goeth out of my lips. He says, I'm not going to break my covenant. It says in that Psalm 89 verse 34, my covenant will I not break, nor alter the things that has gone out of my lips. Once have I sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon, and as the faithfulness witness in the heavens. So he's saying, no matter what y'all do, y'all can't win this. No matter what you do, no matter what plot you plot, it's going to fail. Because he says in Psalm 82 verse 5, 82 verse 5,
They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness, all the foundations of the earth are out of course.
That's right. See what they did? It says not the foundations of the earth are those that hold it stable. He said, they know not, neither will they understand. He said, they don't understand this. They walk in darkness. This is a dark place. It says, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. We are living in a reckless world, a world that is being dealt with by people that have no foresight, because as it says in Psalm 10, the circumstances that is pending is because of their attitude that they have taken. We have to realize that as we go from book to book, other books set precedence over things or other scriptures so that you will know who to prescribe what to. And therefore, we know by the very looking in the scriptures that this very earth is now being orchestrated and moved by those that have no vision, because they are wicked. In the book of Job 9, the earth, that's why they say the earth is out of course. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So we know that this very earth is given into the hands of the wicked, so we know that the wicked can't do nothing else but fail. We know that. Wickedness is failure on any level. So don't be surprised. So this, like in the book of Psalm 10, starting at verse 2, what does it say?
The kings of the earth.
No, wicked, Psalm 10, Psalm 10, verse 2.
The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor.
That's right. The wicked. It didn't say he's going to persecute other people that can deal with him. He said these people are poor. If you're poor, what avenue do you have to combat those that are what? Strategically placed and organized. The wicked man in his wickedness, they're organized. They have an organization that the poor, what can the poor, what is the poor supposed to take them to court? That's why he says, the wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Okay, and it goes on to 3, what it said.
For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous whom the Yahweh... Covetous whom Yahweh abhorreth. So it says, for the wicked boasts his heart's desire, and bless the covetous whom Yahweh abhorreth. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after Allahayimah. Allahayimah is not in all his thoughts. You're working with a very vicious man, because he has a great appetite to do wrong, because he has no respect for God. None. God ain't in all his heart. When he think about God, his brains get on fire, because he don't want God nowhere near him. God is a plague to him, because to think of God is to think of doing right. He can't. The people, we have to realize, when you're going to think of evil, then you can only do evil. When you don't, by you having God in your mind, you don't have room for evil things. If you constantly think about something good, then evil can't come in. If you constantly think about something evil, then good can't come in. It has no room, because you're occupied continuously with the imagination of doing evil. So evil abides in your thoughts. That's why it says the wicked through the pride of his heart, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. It says Allahayimah is not in all his thoughts. He don't think about no God. And it says,
and verse 5, it says, his ways are always grievousness. That's why he always grieving. Always. That's all he's doing is grieving. Anytime you turn on, because his rulership and leadership is a rulership and a leadership of darkness. Because he's always scheming. He always got something that he's putting in place. He has schemed so much that he can't find his way back. He's so used to doing that which has seduced him and brought him into submission, is to do evil. He gonna do evil. He'll sit down to do good. He has practiced it in his mind that he can't do no more. He is a waste of life source of energy. Why? Because he ain't gonna do himself no good, and he ain't gonna do nobody else no good. He has ruined himself by constant indulging himself in that which is what? Pollute. So he says here, his ways of grievousness. As for his enemies, he puffs at them. So he says, his judgment are far above out of his sight. So it says here in verse 6, he has said in his heart, I will not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. He doesn't see the day of his calamity. He has become so structurally blind in his mind, and with his deceitfulness, he can't see it coming. He will not see the wrath of God coming, because God ain't in his mind, and he ain't thinking about no God. He's thinking about his atomic missiles, his army, everything that he has control over. He don't see no God. God, where's God? Where is he? I think it was a report when they went up in space, and one of the astronauts said, he said, I don't see no God. He said, I don't see no God. So I'm saying to you, just because you don't see no God, that don't mean there ain't no God. I might not be able to prove to you that there is a God. You can't prove to me that it isn't. We can have a conversation. I can tell you one thing. Anything that science has discovered was already working before he knew it.
Exactly.
So the point is that he can't say, he said, well, I discovered something. It was already there. He didn't make it. It was there. Now, what he does is tamper with it. He tampered with it. You understand? But it was already working. He looks in the cell. Every time he thinks he's solving something, it increases to something. He has more books in the library that has theories than solving problems. Every time he solves one problem, 50,000 more come. He is accumulating more problems than he's giving solutions to them. You understand? And the reason why he can't solve them, because there's one thing to solve all problems. You know what that is? Getting along. He can't get along with nobody. The wicked man can't get along with nobody. Even if you ain't doing nothing to him, he's plotting and scheming. He can't, he is so mischievous in the earth. He cannot do anything but the wrong thing. That's all he can do. Because it says here, let's go to verse of Psalm 10, verse 7. What does it say?
His mouth is full with cursing and deceit and verses.
Fraud.
And fraud.
His mouth is full of cursing, deceit, and fraud. Go ahead.
Under his tongue, his
Mischief
mischief is
and vanity.
He sitteth in the
Lurking.
place of the village, in the secret place
Does
he murder the
innocent. So he says, under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the village. In the secret places does he murder. He says, in the secret places does he murder the innocent. He said, they ain't done nothing to him. He is a murderer of those that cannot help himself. You understand? They innocent. It didn't say they did anything. He said these people are innocent. Why? Because they're helpless with him. So he murders them. It didn't say, it said thou shalt not kill. So where did murder come in? Because the real word is thou shalt not murder. Torah za. Thou shalt not murder. Or no, it says lo Torah za. It actually says no murder. That's what it says. No murder. And therefore it says his eyes are privately set against the poor. This man is crazy. He is not in adversity against people that can stand up against him. He's in battle against those that have no other means of defense. Who can't beat a poor man? That's easy. He ain't the poor man many times, nobody will help him. He ain't got no means to be helped. So the wicked man jumps on the poor man, beat him up, take everything from him. He can't even take him to court because he can't get a lawyer of merit because he ain't got no money. So when they see him go into court, everybody's against him. He's not going to get justice. He's not. It is impossible because it says his eyes are privately against the poor. He lied in wait